Welcome to Talk of the Nation. I'm JT. The Silver and Black are on the road in Los Angeles taking on the Chargers. Our first guest is Ed Graney from the Las Vegas Review-Journal. And Ed, you've been covering this team on the road so far this year, seeing this team starting to build some wins. How's it been on the road?
JT, it's been surreal, man. It's been weird. We go on these roads. Some have fans, some don't. Never been in press boxes with this few of people. The temperature going in, filling out the form. So it's been crazy. I mean, after the game, we're like everyone else back in Vegas or wherever. We're on the Zooms with Coach Gruden and players. So really, really surreal existence, especially on those places without fans. JT, last week in Cleveland, there were fans, so it was a little different. But, man, when there are no fans there, it's a very weird vibe covering games on the road.
What do you think is the biggest development this year for the Silver and Black?
I think everything points to that offensive line. They can't get beat down. I mean, there's so many injuries, so many issues with COVID, and yet they still show up and produce a game like last week where they won the game because they were able to run the ball in weather, which I think actually later in the year might help them a lot if they can get there. So this offensive line and the way it's responded, I don't think enough people are talking about Tom Cable. I think he's done an incredible job because you just keep putting new guys in each week. So to me, that's a surprise because I know it was built on the offensive line. I didn't know they'd respond this well when they had this many injuries.
And I agree with you. We cover this team and we both do it on radio too. And the fact that they're using so much depth for you covering this team every week from being on the road, then coming back and after the off day and then covering the stories as they build up to the injury report on game day, there's a lot of work there.
Yeah, there is, because they have had so many injuries. And like I know John was talking the other day about like the draft picks and guys they haven't been able to see as much as they wanted to. There were no OTAs, there were no mini camps and all that. And now some of these kids are getting hurt. So they're having to replace them in the lineup. We've already talked about the offensive line. They've had issues everywhere. And yet I don't know if many people would have had them 4-3 after 7. I know I wouldn't have. I think 4-3 after 7 is a really good response to the toughest schedule in the NFL. Now we'll see what they do forward because while people say it's an easier schedule, let's be honest, I don't know if there's any such thing in the NFL.
I love the way Carr is playing, and you talk about Carr on the radio, you write about him in the column. What have you seen? What's the difference in this third year with Coach Gruden?
Boy, he's still completing a lot of passes. His percentage is great. He's a top 10 quarterback in that sense. You know what the key is, JT? They're not getting off the field. They're converting on 3rd and 4th down. They're keeping defenses on the field. They're one of the best, if not the best offenses right now for scoring per possession because in 3rd down, they're taking care of business also on 4th down. So he's doing a great job keeping them on the field during 3rd down.
What about Mike Mayok and this defensive roster? Because he brought in new players. They dipped into free agency. They're playing young players, Ed, so there's going to be challenges there. But that was a big win in Cleveland, not giving up a touchdown. And I thought the defense under Paul Guenther had a good game to build some momentum here.
Well, that was a huge win. Look, the weather was ridiculous. And it's funny, my colleague Vinny Bonsignore and I were walking to our car afterwards, and they almost blew us across the state lines. I'm like, how did they play in this? It was really, really awful weather. And I'll go back to one of my original points. And I do believe in the end they will fight for a wild card spot. And if they do, they will have to be probably put on the road in weather. They're built to win a game like that. I talked to a national writer last night who said if their offensive line is completely healthy, they can win a game in weather against a team that will be favored over them because they can run the ball so well as they did last week. I thought that was a huge win to show they could win in the cold. They could win in bad weather, but then to give them the confidence, JT, later in the year, if they have to go into weather against a really good team, that they can get it done by just pounding the ball and keeping possession and keeping what would, in some instances be a high-power offenses off the field.
Ed, with your roots in Southern California, you've been covering this Charger team also for a long time. What do you think about this team this year? I think they're very, very good and dangerous. They're just having problems closing out these games.
Boy, in the last several years, if they could make a kick or close out games, they would have been deep into the playoffs. It's just become such a bad habit now, JT. I like Anthony Lynn as a guy. Everyone who was around Anthony Lynn loves him. But at some point, someone's going to have to look at some of these decisions made late in games. I think they're as good or better than the Raiders on paper. I think they're a really good team, but we've seen time and time again what happens at the end of these late game situations, and it is not good for them. So we'll see this week. I think it's a pick 'em, which kind of makes sense given how some of the injuries both teams have and how the Chargers have not been close out games.
Ed, you've covered Allegiant Stadium at a high level. Now you're in the building. What's your impression being a Vegas resident when you see that stadium and then when you walk in and cover the team?
Yeah, it's huge. Having been in some of the facilities you and I have been in the time with the Raiders, to go into Allegiant and see that is amazing. I can't wait to see it with fans. It's just not the same. It'd be like saying, hey, what's T-Mobile like without fans in the Golden Knights game? It would be completely different. You couldn't describe it. So I'm going to hold off final judgment until there's fans because I think it'll be electric. But aesthetically, how it looks, how it comes off when you're driving down the freeway and inside, it's absolutely beautiful.
Ed Graney is the gold standard for journalists in Las Vegas. We appreciate him joining us. And coming up next, one of the greatest defensive backs of all time, Mike Haynes, joins us on Talk of the Nation.
This has been brought to you by Allegiant, the official airline of the Las Vegas Raiders. Low fares, nonstop flights. Book now, only at Allegiant.com. Cox, proud partner of the Las Vegas Raiders. Coors Light, an official beer of Raider Nation made to chill. Presented by San Manuel Casino, official Southern California casino of Allegiant Stadium.
Welcome back to Talk of the Nation. One of the greatest football players of all time, Raider legend, Mike Haynes. And Mike, so good to see you. And let's begin. Let's talk about what some people consider the greatest trade in NFL history when you went from the Patriots to the Raiders. Take us back in the day.
Well, back in the days, salaries were just starting to be public after my rookie year. And so I knew what other players were getting. And so I had an idea of what kind of money I'd like to make. And the Patriots said that our market was too small, that they couldn't afford me. And I said, well, then let's see where else I can go. And they said, okay, we'll try, we'll look. And so they looked. And then the Al Davis called me, a few days before, or maybe a day before the trading deadline. And they asked me, hey, what do you think about playing for the Raiders? Now, this might be hard for a lot of people to consider, but back in those days, I didn't like the Raiders. I didn't like any other team in the National Football League except the Patriots. That's it. Everybody else could care less about. But when Al called me, and then this situation was coming on, by then the Raiders had moved from Oakland to LA, where I grew up. And so it was an opportunity for me to join my home team. So I said, yeah, I would absolutely love playing for you in LA. And I looked at that as a new team. And so he said, okay, I'll see what I can do. And so the trading deadline had elapsed. I hadn't heard from Mr. Davis. Pat Sullivan called me and said, well, Mike, we had a deal. We thought we had a deal with the Raiders, but that deal wasn't completed before the trading deadline. So I'm sorry. And so I actually thought at that point that my NFL career was over because there was no way that I was going to play for what they were offering. I just wouldn't be able to have the same type of energy for the games that I had in the past. And shortly after that, Mr. Davis called and he says, Mike, congratulations, you're a Raider. And I said, I'm a Raider? I said, I just had a phone call from Pat Sullivan and he said, you guys didn't have a deal. And I can't give you his exact words, but there was an explicit, explicitive or whatever that cool word is right there. He said, he said, da-da-da, and then he said, and he hung up the phone. I can't give you the exact words, but for those of you who know him, you can probably guess what he said.
Mike, you played on that 1983 team. I think it's the most underrated team, maybe the greatest team of all time. What made that roster so special?
Well, what really made that roster special, I believe that it was the defense. But we had an awful lot of great weapons on offense too. But our secondary with Lester Hayes, Van McElroy, Mike Davis, myself as the starting guys, and then Otis McKinney and James Davis, behind us. It was just unbelievable. If I had to go out for a few plays or Lester had to go out for a few plays, our defense really wasn't hurt that much. But most importantly, we had an unbelievable pass rush with Greg Townsend and Howie Long and Mike Davis on that jet blue slash blitz and Rod Martin on the linebacker on my side. man, that guy protected me like crazy. I hardly ever had to worry about a run to my side because we were so good on that side on the defense. And on the strong side, Mike Davis, Lester, Ted Hendricks, all these guys, man, come on. We had one of the most unbelievable defenses. I loved it. We were very aggressive on defense. Tom Flores had a lot of good weapons for Jim Plunkett to throw to, and he would get the ball to those guys. They had a lot of young guys, but they were all super talented. We had Cliff with the speed. We had Dokie Williams with the moves. You know, we had Todd Christensen with the unbelievable catches and the unbelievable ability to get open on offense. And we had Marcus Allen, the Heisman Trophy winner, who wanted to be the best running back in NFL history, and he practiced and played like that. So I was very blessed to go to that Raider team, and Mr. Davis said he got me for a steal because I was worth 2 firsts, and he got me for a first and a second because of the situation that we were in. So it was great, man. Everything was always the same. You know, Mr. Davis wanted to do one thing, just win. And that just win, baby quote is exactly who Mr. Davis is. He didn't care about how much money the Raiders made. He didn't care about how many people were in the stadium looking at the game. He cared about one thing, winning. And that was it. And I was so glad because that's the reason I played football. I didn't play football to make money. I played football to win championships. And joining the Raiders was an opportunity for me to do that.
You played alongside Lester Hayes. I mean, not only the great Mike Haynes, but Lester on the other side. Mike, tell us about Lester and what was it like to team up with him?
First met him at the Pro Bowl. And so he was MVP of the league and just having an outstanding year, had so many interceptions. And so at that Pro Bowl, he said, I see it in the future, Mike. You're going to wear the silver and black. I'm going, what? Come on, man. You got to be kidding me. How am I going to leave the Patriots? Sure enough, later that year, I'm on the Raiders. I love Lester. And when I saw him, I reminded him of that. And he goes, it was in the stars. You know, he was a Star Wars guy. And his play was just unbelievable. And it really helped elevate my play. Now, our personalities were different. You know, Lester is like, he takes no names. I mean, he doesn't take any prisoners. He's very aggressive. And I was like quiet and just want to beat you, but I don't want to make you look so bad that you go back in that hole and tell the quarterback, I'm gonna go do this and you just throw it to me, get me open. You know, I didn't want that. I wanted to avoid it. But Lester would say, and even to the press, like that guy will be lucky if he catches 2 passes. I don't think he'll catch 8 passes on us, those kind of things. And that elevated my game. So I had to study a little bit more and try to figure out which formations the other team was going to try to attack him and attack me on. And whenever we came off the field, we compared notes. Hey, what did your guy do in that formation? I'll tell you what my guy did in that formation. And so that when they switch sides, we still have all the information we need to make a good play. I love him. He's a guy that should be in the Hall of Fame. I learned a lot from Lester. Now, listen, remember, I made all those Pro Bowls before I even joined the Raiders. You would think I know everything, but I didn't. I started playing football in the 10th grade. Lester started playing probably in kindergarten. You know, in Texas, that Texas level of football, they really do a good job of teaching those kids. And because I actually learned to tackle in college and I started playing cornerback my second year in college, Lester, he knew football and that helped him. He didn't start playing in the secondary until he got to the NFL. And here he is, an MVP of the league at that position. So it was a blessing for me to play with him and all those guys, him, Mike Davis, Van McElroy, James Davis, all those guys, man. It was just so much fun to do it. And I felt really blessed to be able to play in a secondary like that in my career.
Mike, with the few moments we have left, you mentioned the Hall of Fame, Jim Plunkett and Tom Flores. Quick comments on both of them. Hopefully this is here for Coach Flores. What about your quarterback, Jim Plunkett?
Well, he's in my Hall of Fame. Both of them have been in my Hall of Fame. And I think they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. You know, Jim Plunkett, during our time at the Raiders, had so much respect, and we had so much respect for him. Even when he was out and Mark Wilson was the quarterback at the time, as soon as Jim was healthy, and they said they're going to move Jim back to the starting quarterback, even though Mark had been doing great and winning, you would think maybe he'd have to earn his position back. Mark said, he's got it. I'm with Jim. So he supported that decision, and so did everybody else on the team. We had a lot of respect for him, and my hat really off to Mark Wilson for having that attitude of giving that back up to Jim. But he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Come on. MVP of a Super Bowl, 2 Super Bowl victories. Here's one of the greatest college players of all time and really one of the greatest pros of all time. And he should be able to get the respect that he deserves for that.
Thank you, Mike. I'll see you on NFL Radio on Sirius XM. We host a show together every Wednesday. Coming up next, Sibley Scoles joins us as we continue on Talk of the Nation.
Brought to you by Modelo, setting the gold standard for authentic Mexican beer since 1925. Modelo, brewed for those with a fighting spirit.
Welcome back to Talk of the Nation. Sibley Scoles joins us from Access Hollywood. Sib, thanks for doing this, and let's begin. How did you become such a diehard Raider fan?
Oh, man, born and raised in the Bay. It's hard not to be a Raider fan with my family. I was born into it. My parents are diehard Oakland fans, and they will always be the Oakland Raiders to us. But we will never, there's no fair weather fans over here. It's in the blood. It's forever.
Now, thoughts on the team so far this year? Big win in the snow in Cleveland. What do you think of that game?
Absolutely amazing. I mean, I've been going through so much of the footage looking back. This season really shows what the Raiders can do. We've got such a great team this year. The young guys, the injuries have hurt us a little bit, obviously, but they're proving week after week. Even after the bye week, a little shaky, but they're proving week after week they can get it done.
Now, I'm pretty confident that you would have been on the sideline with all of us at SoFi in LA, because the Raider Nation is all over Los Angeles. What's it like in LA and the talk coming into this game?
I mean, listen, I've got so many people DMing me week after week. I'm one of those fans where I need to watch the game solo, turn my phone off. I don't talk about the game until it's over with, and I know we got the W. But so many people, so many fans are really just coming out in support of this team. Again, a young team, a beautiful team, and really so much fun on that field. You can see it in their faces.
So I want to stay with that. You're telling me on game day, you are prowling around, you're ready to go, you amp up, you're into the game. How long does it take you to come down after a game?
A couple days after a win. That Monday feels so great. It just depends on what it felt like that day and how many of the haters come at me in my DMs or send me messages on Twitter, because I'm very active on social media. If people have something to say, I give it a 24-hour period and then I'll come back with some stuff.
Nice rule to live by. All right, your favorite Raider, past or present?
Oh, Rich Gannon is one of my favorite quarterbacks. Just watching him play throughout the years and listening to him talk about Carr right now and how great. I have an actual quote that I want to do. Gannon said he is having an MVP type season. I can speak on that because I am one. I just love the foundation that the Raiders have had since day one, since this team started. And Rich Gannon is one of those people. Obviously, Tim Brown, another amazing player, Hall of Famer. Love, 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 love. Do
you see a little, Derek Carr and Rich Gannon, when you look at these two quarterbacks, similar play?
Definitely. And, it's been a difficult road to get where we are. That is just what it is. As a fan, again, you wait and you watch and you just hope that we continue to get better. That's all that you can do. But I think Carr is really in his element right now. You can see it coming out, and he is our man. I love seeing him out there and what he's doing.
Tell everyone what you're doing, what you're up to, where we can watch you.
Okay, well, right now I'm getting ready to change. We have to go to set. A correspondent here at Access Hollywood. You can catch me on the weekends. Access Hollywood Weekend. I'm a co-host for that show as well. And we're getting ready to talk. Getting nervous. Election time is happening. It's all going down. So it's really exciting here on a Friday, but ready for the day.
Thanks, Sibley. Really appreciate you doing this. When we come back, my final thoughts on Talk of the Nation.
Coors Light, an official beer of Raider Nation, made to chill.
Welcome back to Talk of the Nation. Raider Nation, the Raiders are coming off that big win in Cleveland. In the snow, the weather. After the game, the players were so up. They were so excited all week, and now they have an opportunity to start stacking some wins. And I missed a trip to San Diego, Carson, and now SoFi in Los Angeles, where the Raider Nation still dominates LA. There are more Raider fans in LA than Rams and Charger fans combined. And soon that will be the greatest signature road game every year, because there's going to be 60 to 70,000 Raider fans in that building. But the momentum has to start now. When you win a game in conference like the Cleveland game and then have 3 division games in a row, the Raiders can make a statement here by stacking wins in the division. Denver is coming up next week. Kansas City at home, prime time. But as John Gruden told me this week, one game at a time, a total focus on this game. Justin Herbert is a really good quarterback. They have a pass rush, but the Raiders are rolling right now. They have momentum, and that's what Mark Davis expects. Wins, momentum, John Gruden coaching them up, and the Raiders playing great on Sunday. Big game in Los Angeles, but that's also the home of the Silver and Black. For everyone at Silver and Black Productions, I'm JT. Go Raiders.
This has been brought to you by Allegiant, the official airline of the Las Vegas Raiders. Low fares, nonstop flights. Book now, only at Allegiant.com. Coca-Cola, the official soft drink of the Las Vegas Raiders. Brought to you by Credit One Bank, the official credit card of the Raiders. Cox, proud partner of the Las Vegas Raiders.